GE Fanuc is a joint venture between General Electric and Fanuc Limited of Japan. Fanuc is a robotics company that's been in Japan for a long time, one of the world leading robotics companies. And the joint venture with GE now is about 22 years old, and it's been one of the more successful joint ventures in GE's history. The focus of the business originally was on factory automation and creating automation technologies to make the factories around the world more productive in producing their goods than they were in the past. And in 2000, GE Fanuc embarked down the path of getting to the embedded computing market, largely to utilize embedded technology in their own product lines as they go forward as a make-buy decision on whether to make their own products or to use the COTS industry or the commercial off-the-shelf industry for the source for those products. And in doing so, entered into the embedded space, and we've had very, very successful growth over the last years. The main focus of the embedded business is in two areas. One is in the military aerospace area, creating ruggedized embedded platforms for vehicles and planes and those types of applications. The second is in more commercial applications, and that's creating embedded technologies that go into telecommunications devices, industrial machinery, oil and gas platforms, ruggedized displays for oil and gas platforms, and those types of applications. And also some that go into point of sale or more common applied applications in retail. I got a phone call on it while I was overseas in Asia. A couple passionate responses from a few engineers who wanted to get involved. David Compton being one of the engineers that was mentioned earlier, and then a call from Herb last night on just in case you didn't know much about this project. Here's what it is and what's going on. Two sides to it. One, just sort of the engineer experimenter in me says, great, there's somebody trying to figure out how to create something that's a pretty complex engineering challenge. And do so essentially in a project basis, right? And with pretty limited resources and limited, other than sheer determination and a smart brain. But the business side of me too thinks about the risk, of putting, what does it mean to have GE Fanuc on something that could either go really well, which is great upside, or go not so well, which could be some downside to doing that. The upside seems to outweigh the downside, and when you look at something like this, of course, when it transitions from unmanned to manned, a whole nother set of concerns come in, and we have to reevaluate at that situation. But the idea of having our control platform as part of something like this is pretty intriguing.
Bringing together a community of like-minded folks, engineers, who have expertise in particular areas of engineering, and trying to pull them together and make them part of this effort. Certainly on a volunteer basis, which sometimes brings you the best results because it is coming from their willingness to contribute and their willingness to be part of the project. But the embedded industry is relatively small, and the engineers almost know each other. Most of them do. It's a small community, and to have a project where they can come together and work together, I think is good. It's good for the embedded industry. It's good for the engineers themselves to work with their colleagues in other businesses that sometimes compete against each other and not necessarily cooperate with each other, but on a person-to-person basis. When you get a bunch of engineers in a room together and you throw a problem on the table, they just jump at it. They love challenges. That's why most engineers got into engineering, is to work on challenges, work on problems, and come up with a solution and try to solve that problem. And in the bigger scheme of things, Hermes is just a big problem to engineers. It's just a big set of conditions that they'd like to put their engineering expertise and capabilities and bring that to bear and do it in a way that's done on their time, so they do it the way they want to do it, as opposed to some requirements that they have to meet that they may not necessarily want to do.
When I get my opportunity to be in Hermes, what I would imagine we're going to see is we're going to see how small we are from a global perspective, and how we as a globe can work together to really achieve anything.